Welcome to my lecture, How to Benefit from a Professional Society as a Nursing Student. Learning Objectives. At the end of this lecture, the learner should be able to name an example of a nursing professional association, say one role a professional nursing association could play in a nurse's career, and say one role a professional nursing association could play in a nursing student's career. So what are we going to talk about? First, we're going to talk about what is a nursing professional society or association. Like, what do they do? What roles do they play? And what do they do for the field of nursing? Then we're going to get into why a nursing student should consider joining these societies and taking part in their activities. So when talking about nursing professional societies, the first one you have to talk about is the American Nurses Association, and see their logo on the slide. The reason why it's the first one you have to talk about is because it's probably the most important because it's the biggest, and also, as you'll see at the bottom of the slide, it's in charge of credentialing. In charge of the American Nurses Credentialing Center, which is a subsidiary of the ANA. So you can see that there. And you can also see that the ANA is a federal organization, but it has state chapters. Like I live in Massachusetts, so you can see their little logo. That's the Massachusetts Nursing Association. So what does the ANA do? We mentioned credentialing. It provides information to improve your nursing practice, provides information to protect yourself, like legal information or health information. It can provide ethical guidance. The ANA does lobbying and advocacy for nurses. They host an annual conference. They also publish periodicals. And when I say periodicals, I mean that some of them are peer-reviewed, like the American Nurse Today and the Online Journal of Issues in Nursing. And one is not peer-reviewed, the American Nurse, and you'll have to watch my other videos on peer-reviewed literature to understand what I'm talking about. Okay, and also the ANA helps people like me who are educators of nurses by providing information to us. So they have a lot of great stuff on their website, and let's go check it out. Okay, and here we are at the ANA Federal site here. It's www.nursingworld.org. And you'll notice that they have a separate site for their advocacy and lobbying arm. See how Washington-y it looks. That's at www.rnaction.org. So they sort of separate that. But we're going to go back here to their main page because I just wanted you to sort of see what's there. If you become a member, which costs something, it costs less if you are a student in all of these associations because they want you to be able to join. They know you're poor. You haven't become a practicing nurse yet, and they want to encourage you to be part of it, believe it or not. This is not just for career nurses, it's for students too. So if you were to even join as a student, you could log in over here and get special stuff. But I just wanted to show you these different drop-down menus, like under career and credentialing. You can learn a lot about where you want to direct your career as a nurse just reading this stuff here at the ANA website. A lot of nurses are already practicing nurses and they're going back to school to get more training, and that's why they're subjected to me, this nursing educator. But wherever you are in your career, you can benefit from looking at some of this practice stuff that explains, how to improve your practice and such. Another thing that's really helpful is as a nurse, you encounter a lot of ethical stuff, depending on where you're working or what's going on. And there's a lot of really good guidance here. And it's official guidance from the ANA. There's information about health and safety. It's actually really dangerous to be a nurse. There's a lot of occupational hazards, and you need to read about it. You need to be prepared, and this is good information. Here's that policy and advocacy stuff I was talking about. I showed you that other site. The members of the ANA have quite a few benefits. And then you'll see the ANA has an annual conference, and you'll start to see that that's what happens with these societies is they tend to also put on annual conferences and sometimes even more than that. I actually went to this career and credentialing thing because I wanted to show you that because there's just like so much here. There's job postings, information about developing your career, webinars, If you go over here to the professional issues panels, that's that policy and advocacy, you can actually participate on these if you, as a student member. Maybe not all of them, but you can participate on different panels, right? Like, for instance, nurse fatigue panel, right? Let's say that you are working in an ICU and you're finding that these shifts are just too long and people are too fatigued. You might want to participate on a panel like that because anybody who can contribute, it's important, right? Another really great thing I wanted to show you, even though there's a lot of great stuff, is those periodicals I was talking about. And you can get access to them. There's different levels of membership. So depending on what you pay, let's see here, this is American Nurse Today is a no-cost member benefit. So it's worth it, right? So the ANA has a lot for you as a student. Hey, wait a second, let's look up here. Look at that. Student nurses. Well, I wonder what happens when we go here. Student nurses. Okay, so we're going to go there and see if they've got anything for you. Well, look at this. They have some student nurse tools. Oh, code of ethics. Hey, it's just perfect for you. And so when you go down here, oh, you can even order this book. So as you can see, they're really trying to attract you if you're a nursing student. So see if you can afford to join for even just 1 year and see what the ANA is all about. Oh, and don't let me move on without pointing out that you also want to see if you can get a membership in your local chapter of your society. And I'm just giving you an example on the screen of the Massachusetts Nurses Association, which is the local chapter of the ANA. And usually I didn't look directly into the ANA, but usually they have a way that if you join the federal one, you can join your local chapter too, either for cheap or free. So see what you can do about that, because sometimes you may not be able to go to the national conference, but there'll be local conferences you can go to, and it's really nice to get to know the people around you. Okay, so we've gone over the ANA, which is the big nursing organization, but that's not the only nursing organization. There are other professional nursing societies and they're focused on different specialties. And you can go crazy joining all of them, but it's kind of most important to focus on the one in your specialty if you're going to join one in addition to the ANA. For example, I put on the slide the American Psychiatric Nurses Association. Not unlike the ANA, it has an annual conference, it's got its own journal, continuing education, job postings, press releases, committees and task forces. You can get a chance to network, and there are local chapters. So let's go check out their webpage. Okay, here we are on the APNA website, and look at that. We've got this APNA 29th Annual Conference in Florida. Wouldn't that be nice? If you're in Massachusetts like me, then that thought of going to Florida in October is a good thought, right? But there's more to the annual conference than getting to go to Florida. You kind of can see that there's a lot going on here. I went to their conference page. There's a lot going on, and one of the things that's a little hard to tell from here is that something that happened earlier this year was that people could submit scientific abstracts that could be presented here. They've already been peer reviewed and they've already been selected. And so if you go and you actually look at the conference program, you see here, this is actually a very typical conference where it starts, oh my gosh, I get so exhausted at these. It starts so early in the morning. You're just going all day. It's super fun, but it's really exhausting. I mean, you can go to all these sessions. See these sessions, block 1, block 2? Those are often presentations that have been peer reviewed from research that you could submit to. I mean, even as a student, you can do it if you probably have to work with some faculty, but you could do it. And there are these symposia, there are these courses you can sign up for. Keynote presentation, look at that. And so there's just so much going on at these conferences. It's really worth it to do that. So to sum up, I was just showing you an example of a conference, but what are these opportunities for students, nursing students, if you actually go to these conferences? Well, one of the things you get to do is actually network with people outside your school or outside your workplace. And you'll be surprised at how different things can be regionally, different practices, even different laws. So especially if you go to like a national conference, you get to meet people out of state and you learn a lot about how things are in different states. It also helps you keep up to date on the research because the research people are presenting there, this is before they even get a chance to submit a whole paper to one of those peer-reviewed journals. And so it's really hot off the press. They're still peer reviewed, but they're just abstracts. They're early on. So you can learn about research 1 or 2 years before it even gets published. You can also keep up to date on new clinical information, that affects your practice, maybe new information about drugs and prescriptions, but also new information about laws and regulations, privacy. That kind of stuff is disseminated at those conferences. As you saw on that list, there are workshops, there's continuing education opportunities, there are speakers, there are panels. You can be on the panel, you can organize the panel, you can see the panel. There's chapter and task force meetings that take place actually at these conferences. Now you're like, well, what if I'm on a local chapter or on a task force and I don't go? It's okay. I learned that. You can just not go. I mean, it's more so if you're there, you get to rub elbows with your other committee members because you hardly see each other in person. You're usually on conference calls. And then you can also learn about new products and services from exhibitors. What's an exhibitor? Well, they're basically like companies, usually. But sometimes they're the government, sometimes they're universities. They're organizations that want you to know about them. So they usually have this thing called an exhibitor hall where all these companies and organizations set up booths and you can go around and look at their stuff and get this thing called swag, right? Swag. So like post-it notes and like pens and like little flashlights, key rings, and also they have nursey stuff, that you like. Maybe you'll be lucky, get some scrubs. And that's my point is you hardly ever get to have fun when you're working in the healthcare system. It's so stressful and there's so much work, but you get to have a little fun at these conferences. Yes, they're exhausting, but they're exhausting because they're fun. They're kind of like a roller coaster, right? And also, and I put this in purple because I'm a purple kind of girl. I love research, and I just want to forward to you, even as a nursing student, you can practice presenting your research at these conferences. They often have competitions for students who are submitting abstracts, obviously with faculty. Sometimes they'll give you a little scholarship or a little award. It's worth it. Put it on your CV. So there's a lot of opportunities at these conferences. Now, I'm also going to remind you that abstracts lead to papers, right? So the APNA runs the JAPNA, so the Journal of the American Psychiatric Nurses Association. So this is kind of like the ANA, which has its own peer-reviewed journal. Well, APNA has its. So if you do research or you want to write about a clinical issue, you could even just submit it to that journal, the whole paper, and see if you get a peer review and see if you get published. So let's take a hop, skip, and a jump over to the Journal of the American Psychiatric Nurses Association, or JAPNA for short. Here you go. I just wanted to show you this very quickly just so you can see what a journal website looks like. This is kind of the home page, and then they have about the journal, and they have information about the editorial board. If you want to actually submit something, this is the information about the manuscript submission. And if you're wondering, if it's peer reviewed, where you go is you go to the About This Journal and it'll explain it here. Look at all this information and it will tell you here here it is, peer reviewed. That's how actually you can find out if any journal is peer reviewed, is going to this About the Journal part. But anyway, I just wanted to show you, and if you are interested in actually submitting a manuscript here, you can read about it under manuscript submission. So I promised you I would give you some advice. So this is my advice to nursing students with respect to professional societies. First, join either the ANA or a specialty society you're interested in for just 1 year. So let's say you're thinking of becoming a psychiatric nurse, you might join the APNA just for 1 year. Or if you're thinking of becoming a critical care nurse, you could join their society for just 1 year. Just 1 year because then it's kind of like joining a gym. You want to try and use it for that year and just see how it goes for you. So step two would be try to attend the annual conference. Now I realize there's money involved, and if that conference is far from you, that may not be that easy. So at least try to see if you can maybe even use things from the conference. They often post webinars and stuff, but try to stay in touch with the annual conference. Next, try to read the publications each time they come out. Usually you get at least one free publication with your membership. So whenever they come out, just try to read them, maybe not cover to cover, but look at the table of contents and pick up what you think is interesting to you. And you can always reference them in your essays as you're going through college. Number four is try to participate on a committee, like one of those panels or task force. It's a good way to network. And like I said, they meet by conference call normally. They'll meet in person if you're there at the meetings. So just see if you can be on one and do a little something. Number five is try to do a project with another nursing student or nurse that you meet through the society. And 4 and 5 can kind of work together. If you're just sitting on one of those committees and you're doing stuff, then that's kind of what I mean. Actually try to make an independent connection with somebody in the society so you have something besides just the people you meet at school and the people you meet at work. And then finally, number 6, if there are any local chapter meetings that you can get to, just try to go to one and do a little meet and greet and just get to see who's around you. And the reason why I say just 1 year and, just start out is because I'm an epidemiologist, so I study a lot of different diseases and I go to a lot of different conferences, and I wish that I had had this advice because I didn't realize that they're all different and some of them fit and some of them don't. So you want to get to know the society's conferences and publications that groove with you. If one society doesn't fit, try another. And if you are, for example, in one sort of field, like I'm in research right now, what if I wanted to move into nursing? Well, I could maybe join the ANA or try to join one of these nursing societies and move into a new specialty. So it's worth it to get going early in your career in looking at these professional societies and how you can participate and what role they can play for you. So in conclusion, nursing professional societies and associations play many roles, and they do that at the federal and the local level, and they're responsible for so many different things in nursing: continuing education, credentialing, advocacy, career development, publications, conferences, and all different kinds of opportunities like I was describing. And what I just want to make sure you take home as a message is that professional societies provide many opportunities for career nurses, but especially for nursing students. Have a great day.